Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 2:04 on Wednesday, the 15th day of April, 2026. And I would like to call this meeting to order, this meeting being the council meeting for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. I can verbally confirm that we have quorum between those attending by Zoom and those in person in the room. I would also confirm that the CAO, the clerk, and other members of our senior management team and our staff are present. And before we go any further, I would like to read the land acknowledgement statement. We want to acknowledge that we are on lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have cared for this territory for the benefit of future generations, and their stewardship throughout the ages is recognized. Thank you. Okay, today's meeting, as it always is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and its YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, your voice, and your comments being recorded and posted online. I can also advise that, as we always do, we invited comments on this agenda at a special email address, tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. We did receive one piece of correspondence, a letter received from a law firm Loopstra Nixon LLP regarding the report relating to Plan 2026-037, B/25/26/27/28/30/31/32/33/25 ML, ZBA-28/25 that relates to 693170 Ontario Ltd. and Badaglini lands at Eldo Lane and Hesner's Lake Road. I would acknowledge that we received I think actually two supplementary agendas? I can't remember. Two supplementary agendas. I think we will be speaking to those separately when they come up. First one related to public comment. Oh, sorry, we do have in those minutes, there were public comments that were submitted in writing. And it relates to item 7A1, March 11, 2026, General Finance Committee minutes, and action item 3. And it was a letter regarding policy C-LS-08. And item number 11.A.3, bylaw 2026-035, ZBA 36/25, Fasken, 1094 Mortimer's Point Road, Unit 22, and that's roll number 6-24-015, and that's to replace Schedule 2 of the bylaw. All right, before we go any further, I'm going to ask all members of council whether or not they have any pecuniary interests. If you do have a pecuniary interest, please so signal, and we'll hear your declaration. Seeing none, I would simply remind you that if during the course of this meeting you find yourself in a situation where you are in violation or where you are worried about a pecuniary interest, please stop the process, identify the issue, and we will deal with it accordingly. Thank you. Last couple of comments, just by way of explanation. The motions that you will hear today were pre-populated with random movers and seconders, and that's done simply to expedite the meeting. And as far as voting is concerned, I would ask that all members physically raise their hand until I have confirmed your vote. And if the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk, but in that particular case, it will not be considered a recorded vote. Okay? So we'll move on to the items marked from item 5 forward on the agenda that was published. Delegations, we have none. To my knowledge, I believe we have no invited presentations. We have no delegations. The public comment issue, I think I've already addressed. We did have one submitted in writing. And then I'm going to move to the consent agenda. There are, I believe, four different meetings that are covered by this consent agenda. I will ask the clerk, and we've already talked about it, so it's not a surprise. On the March 11, 2026 General and Finance Committee minutes and action items 1 through 6, I would like to pull action item 3 from the consent agenda. And that was the matter relating to the policy around shore road allowances and road allowances generally. And my ask is that we pull that, consider it separately, and consider it in light of, I thought, a very informative letter that was sent to us this week by a constituent, Mr. Al Moran. I think there's enough there that we should go back and have a second look at this matter. And before we bring it for approval by council, we have it reconsidered and resubmitted to us by staff. And, you know, as it relates to anything new that's raised by Mr. Moran, we may see some changes to what we're asking to have approved. All right. Does anybody have any discussion? Councillor Nishikawa.
Sorry, I'm to you. I'm thinking through how this works. And so is it going to automatically go back to staff and we might see it come back whenever? Or does it have to actually be voted on?
That's an excellent question. I'm going to ask Clerk Best Serraris to handle that, please. Close.
Thank you. Through you. So any member of council can pull an agenda item from the consent agenda, which the mayor is doing. That motion will come up on its own, and then it'll be up to council here whether you would like to send it back to committee or what you'd like to do with it. But it'll be up for discussion at that point. So it'll come up for discussion exactly as committee had recommended it to council.
Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you for the question and the answer. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to deal with that now separately, or, oh, sorry, Councillor Bozeman.
Yeah, I would like to pull, I think it's item number 1, if I got that correctly, of the planning committee meetings related to Hesner Lake application. And the reason for pulling it is I believe it deserves further discussion, should go back to planning, given the fact that we have received some correspondence from the agents or the applicant's lawyer.
Thank you for that. Yes, please. Point of clarification.
Thank you. And through you to the council, just a point of clarification. There were a number of resolutions in regards to that matter. I believe it was the first 5 resolutions that were passed. So action items 1 through 5 were all in regards to that application. So I just want to make sure you wanted both all of the consent and the zoning to be pulled for further discussion.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I didn't realize how many there were. You're right.
That's okay. Thank you.
And they were all denied. Or defeated.
Okay, so we will deal with all of these issues in the order they come up.
Agenda with
The one.
not included.
Okay. So first resolution that I'm going to read. I'm sorry, Councillor Zavitz.
Well, thank you, and through you to you. For clarification, the legal letter that we've received, which has now been referenced, what are we as a council to do with that to acknowledge it? I mean, does it physically need to be pulled and discussed further, or are we to do anything with it, or do we just take it as a matter of public record? I'm interested in what the procedure is or policy is for that.
Sorry, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Through you. Anytime that we receive correspondence from an applicant, their agent, their lawyer, anything like that, it's received as correspondence, and then it's up to this table, this council, how they would like to proceed. So whether you'd like to discuss it further or not, that's up to an individual council member to pull, but then all of council to decide what you want to do with it. But there is no requirement to do any of what I mentioned. It's simply correspondence received.
Okay, any more questions or comments? No? I'm going to move through the consent agenda. First resolution that I'm going to read covers all 4 of the original consent agendas with the 2 items that we've asked to have pulled back out. Okay? Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact the following minutes and recommendations contained in the April 15, 2026 consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. Number one, March 11, 2026 General and Finance Committee minutes and action items 1 to 2 and 4 through 6. Number two, March 11, 2026 council minutes. Number three, March 12, 2026 regular and joint planning committee minutes and action items 1 through 4. And number four, March 12, 2026 planning committee minutes and action items 6 through 9. Anybody with questions on that? Or comments? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, the next one that I'm referring to is the one that I referred to in conjunction with the letter from Mr. Moran. Moved by councillor, second by councillor. Okay, moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact action item 3 contained in the March 11, 2026 General Finance Committee minutes as follows. That the sale of shore road allowances and road allowances policy C-LS-08 attached as Appendix 1 to report number LS-2026-06 be adopted, and that the sale of original shore road allowances and original road allowances policy C-LS-08 and sale of flooded land policy C-LS-09 be repealed. Okay, I'm going to ask for some guidance on this. If we just approve this. Okay, so the request was, and it was me that made it, that we signal this out and basically reconsider this. I was not expecting to do it today, but reconsider this in light of the letter that we received, which put a different perspective on how we value the sale of these properties. So my suggestion would be that we kick it back to General and Finance Committee. We have staff take a look at the letter from Mr. Moran and review and revise the staff report to give us some guidance as to whether or not or how much of what was included in Mr. Moran's letter can be incorporated into whatever we decide to do with this policy. Councillor Bosenworth.
Your worship, I would second that, but I would also ask that we give some consideration to putting a definition on peninsula, because I think that there's no definition today, and I think we have considered all of Riverdale Road, that whole piece of land, to be a peninsula, and it's, I don't know, it's 1.5 or 2 kilometers wide. I think we should have a definition that says, you know, a peninsula is a much narrower piece of land, so that those road allowances that go across don't get caught up in the regulation.
So we would essentially incorporate that further direction into whatever we're going to provide
Yes.
here. Sorry, Director Beth Serreras.
Thank you. To that point, if we can ask Ms. Story to come up just to speak to the change in potentially the new policy, although there's not a definition, it does put a bit more parameters around it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, and through you. So our new policy, so our existing policy, it really limits the sales of shore road allowances that lead to water. As you've seen the last few years, the amount of applications that we receive for sales of road allowances that lead to water that fit within those special circumstances are slim. We've only received probably 3 to 4 in the last 5 years. So with the wording of the new policy, I see that we'll receive even less of these applications that qualify for sales of road allowances that lead to water. I think the wording that we've put in the policy makes those limitations even smaller. I can reread the clause that relates to the sales of road allowances that lead to water if council would wish. But I think we've restricted it further, that if it crosses a peninsula or island, that it doesn't have, that the public doesn't have access to those lands at all, is when we would consider a sale.
Councilor Nishikawa, a question for.
I feel a little challenged at this time because I thought we were going to be sending this back to staff and that we would be looking at things as a whole and not taking little items at a time.
That's the way I'm going to read another
Thank you.
my amending resolution, but I think if I'm hearing correctly, your general feeling is that the request of Councillor Rosenworth is already encompassed in the.
I think I have read his letter. I think our policies have been a little bit misinterpreted. Staff can provide clarity if it comes forward next month, but I think reading Mr. Moran's letter, his concern is to do with the fees. Fees can be addressed under the fees and charges bylaw. The fees aspect wouldn't affect the policy. So there wouldn't be, I don't believe, any amendments that we would need to make to the new policy that's been in front of you. Fees would be addressed under an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that input. Councillor Kent.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that I thought it was a very, very solid letter sent by Mr. Moran. And one of the things that got me thinking about was, and I realized this particular situation did not play out similarly, but it's the same idea, which is the Riverdale Road story of multiple years ago and the amount of benefit we were deriving on the people who wanted to buy a right of way. I just want to make sure that that situation where we technically turned a property that was water only into land only would also be captured in this kind of as a benefit that was given to somebody when they bought the road allowance. And I mean, I think what Mr. Moran is suggesting, I just want to make sure that's included when they come back to us. They've thought through that angle of it as well.
Thank you for that.
Do you understand was I clear or not clear?
I understand what it is, but I think the resolution that we're going to pass is certainly broad enough to capture any potential input from Mr. Moran's letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to set the original resolution aside and I'm going to read a new resolution. And the new resolution is moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the sale of shore road allowance and road allowances policy C-LS-08 attached as Appendix 1 to report number LS-2026-06 be referred back to the next General Finance Committee meeting for further discussion and information from staff on correspondence received. Okay, anybody with questions on that? Councillor Bosenworth.
Should we perhaps be asking to come back with a report on a modification to the fees rather than this bylaw?
This is encompassing enough to capture that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosenworth.
And does it encompass, I understand what Ms. Story said about tightening it up on the definition of a peninsula, but I listened to it carefully and I didn't quite, and it was hard to understand how it actually captured that, and perhaps the language on that part could be clarified.
I think
something to do with public access, but if a road's crossing a big wide peninsula and there doesn't happen to be any public access,
I think we should just hold off, let staff who've clearly heard our issues and understand Mr. Moran's letter, go back and have a look at this, and we'll have an opportunity to debate that when it comes back in a month.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. All right, next up. So that covers all the way down to here. New business. We have. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I missed one. You're right. Okay. This relates to the request by Councillor Bosenworth relating to Hesner's Lake. It's a resolution moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the Mayor and Council adopt and enact the March 12, 2026 Planning Committee action items 1 through 5 to defeat consent applications, B 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 25, ML, and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA-28/25, excuse me, 693170 Ontario LTD, and Battaglini 1016 Eldo Lane, roll number 7-1-033, and Hesner's Lake Road, bracket no civic address assigned, roll number 7-1-027. Okay. Now we're going to go to Councillor Bosenworth, and we're suggesting that this be pulled. The resolution says that this be pulled, that you want to make something, pull something. You want to speak to why.
I believe the letter we received from the applicant's lawyer has raised some interesting points that we should give further consideration. I think the only way to do that is sending back through planning rather than doing it here in this committee meeting.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Bosenworth on that? Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you, as I recall, I believe it was a unanimous decision by the planning committee to vote the way we did. So all of the things that were contemplated in the letter that I read were discussed around this table. So, you know, is there some sort of statute of limitations of 3 months, 4 months, or whatever? But for us just to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start all over again just seems kind of strange to me, very counterproductive.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bosenworth, you have a comment?
It was not unanimous, and there were two members of committee that were not present, yourself and Councillor Robert. And that would give them an opportunity to voice and understand this, both the letter from the lawyer and the staff report.
Thank you for that. Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Zavitz that we're rehashing all of this. We did receive all of the environmental reports. We received basically all the information that has been put in the legal letter and made the decision that we did. I hope that we stand by the committee's actions, and I don't want to revisit this. I feel quite frankly that this letter was just to bully us, and that these are, maybe it's because I know the property really well. It's unclear to me how we could accept stuff. So I'm just not sure that we should overturn what
I
committee.
certainly don't think we should be litigated here and now, but I understand your point. Councillor Bosenworth does have the right to request that it be pulled. And does anyone else have a comment or point of view on this? I understand what I've heard, certainly from Councillor Zavitz and Nishikawa. Nobody else? Okay. What do I have something to read?
To send it back to committee, but I don't hear have a seconder.
Oh, okay. We do have a request to send it back to committee. We need a seconder. There's a seconder, Councillor Mazan and or Councillor Roberts. In which case, all right, we have fresh resolution moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved, the consent application B 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 25 ML and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA-28/25 693170 Ontario LTD and Battaglini 1016 Eldo Lane, roll number 7-1-033, and Hesner's Lake Road, bracket no civic address assigned, bracket, roll number 7-1-027 be referred back to the next planning committee meeting for further discussion. Any other fresh new comments or questions on that? I'll ask. Does anybody feel they need more explanation on the procedure that we're choosing? Councillor Kent, your hand is sort of up.
Yep. Sorry, one sec. I can't seem to get on back to my.
We can hear you and see you.
Oh, okay. I know you can see me. I wasn't sure you could hear me. I was just wondering if staff had read the letter and what their view of it was before I mean, I know how I feel on this, which is it's been resolved, but I may be uneducated I would love to hear what the staff had to say about the letter. Whether there's any value to going back, is there something new that we've learned here? I was of the view that there was thing
I think
new.
we're going to leave interpretation to the letter
Well,
to
that's
either if this gets sent back or not.
Oh, that means that we're making a decision without the expertise of the staff on this matter. We've decided there's nothing new in that letter. Okay.
I suspect if we vote yes to this and send it back, they will have time to gather the expertise and make a report. CAO Pink,
Thank you. I'm not sure of the appropriateness of responding to the letter, certainly not on the fly, but I would say staff's position on the applications is referenced in our staff report, and I would refer to that.
thank you for that. Anyone else before I call it? No, I'm seeing no more questions or comments. I will call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Are you counting? So, all right, thank you very much. So on a vote of 5 to 5, it is defeated.
So that was to send it back to committee.
So it's not going to go back to committee. Now we just have the first resolution to pass it. I read it.
Defeat. So the original resolution per committee was for those to be defeated.
Okay, but I've read it already.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've read this resolution to defeat it. So based on what I've just heard, we still need to call the vote. I didn't do that.
Yes, you're just calling to confirm what committee decided.
We're going to call the vote now to confirm what essentially what the committee just decided by defeating the motion to send it back for reconsideration. All right, any questions on that part of the procedure?
Decided that you're deciding to defeat the matter right now. So
Oh, that's not what I said. Okay. So just for clarification, and thanks, Councillor Kent, I'll get to you in 1 second. Just for clarification, we're voting now on defeating the matter. All right, at council. Councillor Kent, you're shaking your head.
Just confused about what, if I vote yes or if I no here, what am I agreeing to? I'm confused by that. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm gonna ask Director Beth Serreras to speak to that, please.
thank you through you. So the request to send it back to committee was just defeated. So now the resolution that's on the floor is to confirm what was decided by committee last month. So planning committee last month recommended that the matter be defeated. So if you want the matter to be defeated, you're going to vote in favor of it. If you do not want the matter to be defeated, we're going to have a fun, interesting next few steps. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Anybody, anyone else need any other comment or comment? All right, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see what's going on the screen. Oh, there we go. 5. 5 up and all against. All against 5. So it's a tie.
I need a 5-minute recess.
We need a 5-minute recess to figure out what to do with 5 and 5. Again, defeating the motion. Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 2:35. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we could come back to this. I'm going to tell you right up front, this is probably not going to be any easier to follow than anything else we've done today. And not through any fault of our own. We just have put ourselves in a bit of a box canyon here, and it's got to be very carefully thought through. I have 4 separate resolutions in front of me. I believe the first 3 are identical to the ones that were brought. No, not all of them. Yeah, I'm going to ask, I knew it wouldn't be easy. Director Beth Serreras, please.
Thank you. I'll do my best. So there are 4 resolutions, but the mayor won't read all the way through if committee is okay with that. The 4 resolutions are exactly what was presented by staff at committee last month. So these 4 resolutions were exactly what staff presented. All of these resolutions at committee were defeated. When it came here for decision, we had a few resolutions, but essentially what you did is you just defeated your defeat. So the 2 negatives made a positive, meaning committee or council wanted to approve it. The thing with planning applications is that there's conditions to go along with it. So now we're formalizing those conditions based on the fact that you just approved it. So we'll read through it.
We'll basically introduce it because they're a couple pages long. And I guess if there's any questions, I can read more. And we will take some direction from Director Beth Serreras as to what happens if we vote yes and what happens if we vote no on each one. Is that fair? Or you want me to read the whole thing?
No, unless committee would like you to.
Would committee prefer if I read these resolutions in their entirety, Councillor Zavitz?
Thank you. And through you, to you. So we were put in a position where we actually voted twice on a topic and one canceled the other. So it actually is. So I wonder if we could just take one moment and explain that to stupid me, but it sounds like we deep sixed ourselves.
Director Beth Serreras. Who deep
Thank you.
sixed who?
So the resolution that was passed, or the resolution at committee, all 5 resolutions were put in front of you. At committee, they were defeated. So the resolution that was in front of you was defeated. Then Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan, put on another resolution requesting that it go back to committee for further discussion. The resolution asking for the matter to go back to committee, that was defeated. So therefore, it didn't go back to committee. So then the resolution came back onto the floor to defeat everything. So to defeat all 4 of these resolutions. Council then defeated that. So the resolution was to defeat the motion. You defeated a motion to defeat. In essence, you approved it, which means technically at this point it's approved, but because the Planning Act requires all of the conditions be read as well, or the conditions be noted, and we have these resolutions approved, each of them, now it's in front of you with all of the conditions to be confirmed. So essentially at this point, council has approved it, but you haven't met all of the requirements to do so.
Right.
Even secondary, if I might, even though I at no point in time wanted to approve it. That's the last thing in the world I want to do is approve it.
That happens a lot. Sometimes I don't want to approve something, but it gets approved. It wasn't your
It
vote.
wasn't the spirit, sorry. It wasn't the spirit of this at all, to my mind.
What? I'm sorry, I'm confused. There's no spirit or emotion here. This is literally just a
Yeah,
technical.
no, you're right. So if 7 of 8 people present at that meeting a month ago, which is what we're considering, voted against it. So, that's the spirit of the room, was that people voted against it. And now somehow we find ourselves in a place where we've actually approved it through a double whammy. Now I think we have to be very, very careful of how we vote here.
I think you're right,
We
but I
want
mean,
that
there is
continuity.
a 30-day delay between committee and council for a specific reason. In federal parliament, it's the House of Sober Second Thought. So we are entitled to reconsider. We are entitled to take in new information. We are entitled to make a different decision. And this got on for a fair vote. The problem is when you wind up with 2 ties, you're defeating a defeat, which is like crossing the wire twice. Counselor Edwards, and then Counselor Kent.
I think at this point, since it was voted down at the time, it should go back to committee then, rather than approving something here that half the people don't want to approve. And then it's gonna get shoved down somebody's throat one way or the other. I think the only way to do it is to take it back to planning and hash it out again. I mean, just because we pass something or don't pass something, you get a letter and everybody panics. And
Not everybody panicked. Half
half
the
the
people
people.
panicked.
Not this house.
Sorry.
Counselor Kent, then Counselor Nishikawa.
Perhaps I don't understand it. The first vote was 5-all, and therefore it went to defeated. The second vote was 5-all. Why doesn't it go to defeated? Why is the second vote being
Counselor
treated differently
Becerra.
than the first vote?
Because the first vote was in the affirmative, the second vote was not. So it was, the second vote was to defeat something, and you defeated a defeat. You
Well, that-
defeated
there
a
wasn't-
motion to defeat.
Well, then nobody clarified it. I asked for a request the first time, and I think perhaps if people were voting on the wrong thing then?
No, I don't think that's the case. No.
Well,
A
but
quick observation, just for clarification. I believe the same 5 people voted the same way in both cases, except one of them was a motion to defeat a decision from.
well, that's the
to
mistake.
defeat- Well,
Okay, one of them was a division. The first motion defeated we're not going back to planning. And the second motion was to reaffirm, I thought, what had been already agreed at planning last meeting.
And what was agreed at planning last meeting was to defeat the application.
Right. And the
And
people,
and we voted on a tied basis. And tie means it was that motion was defeated because it was a tied vote. Tie votes are negative, are a defeat.
okay,
Therapy. I'll take it. Counselor Becerra, you have things that can help?
I would not want to presume the decision of council. However, I think that there may be some confusion at this point. And perhaps reconsidering the motion to refer it back to planning committee might be a path forward that everyone would be amenable to at this time.
That would,
Send it back to committee.
but that would mean for a smarter decision in a month than what we're going to muster here.
Yes.
well, and some of the people were not,
Counselor Kent, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say there were some people who were not in the room last time and voted on it today who didn't vote last time, so that weren't party to the conversation that happened last meeting.
No, that's, well, first of all, that's not a prerequisite. Number 2, those who missed it, watched it, may have watched it. So you can't make a presumption about what people saw or know. And there is new information, whether you think it's something to be taken into consideration or not. There's new information that came in the form of a letter yesterday or 2 days ago. Counselor Bosenworth.
Member Kelly, as I was the one who made the original resolution.
Bet you wish you hadn't. Oh, no.
I think that's a very good idea. I don't think we should necessarily settle it here in this fairly confused matter. I think let's go back to the original one and send it back.
Well, that presumes that someone who didn't vote for that last 10 minutes ago has changed their mind.
They might have. They might have given the.
How many times
Where we
could we
ended.
do that vote?
Fair
Okay.
enough.
Counselor Zavitz.
Well, thank you to you. Yeah, that would be, my position would be, why would we want to bring it back for next planning meeting? Right? Are you going to vote again? You're going to hold a vote, and presumably the people that just voted no are going to vote no again. So we're going to have a draw probably anyway. Then what do you do?
Well,
So,
we all have open minds until the vote is called. That means we have 30 more days to take information, reconsider how we got in this situation, and it's possible that someone would vote differently. Councilor Nishikawa?
Just saying,
I'm not sure what that meant.
I had my hand up, you acknowledged me, but then you went.
You know,
to the-
I humbly
the rest of the-
apologize. I'm
Um,
really sorry about that.
I'm asking though, quite frankly, how this impacts if this goes back to planning. Because we don't always have to recirculate. But how do we let the neighbors know that they all need, because this was a full room. They all showed up. How do we let them know that their application is being reconsidered? Because we're not letting them know now.
CEO Pink?
Thank you, through you. I believe if the matter did return, the neighbors have been asked to be notified of any future meetings. That correspondence is probably saved in the file, and staff could notify the members of the community that the matter will be returning. I certainly don't like to think out loud in this setting, and I certainly don't like to presume what a council vote may do. But just in an interest of trying to move this forward, if I'm understanding the clerk's process correctly, we will be rereading the resolutions from Planning Committee as they were. And if we assume that no votes changed from 15 minutes ago, then presumably they will be defeated. In which case, I think that seems to be the intent of this whole process. Planning Committee recommended against. Councillors have a right, and some were not agreeable with that decision in Planning Committee. Some may have changed their minds after 30 days of second thought, which is their prerogative. However, it seems the majority still did not, there's not a majority to move this forward. Hence, I think the process the clerk laid out should work if votes did not change from 15 minutes ago. And I think it resolves some of the concerns I think that Councillor Zavitz was raising about committee and council's intent. Again, I apologize if don't like to, again, assume votes or your intent, but I think that process would work if the resolutions are reread and the votes stay consistent. I hope that helps clarify.
Councillor Mazan?
Thank you, and through you. For my own understanding, if you were to, I'm going to use an example, read the first resolution from Planning Committee last month, and it was the divided committee again, or council 5-5. It's in the defeated, and then that would get defeated, which means then that would be an approval. No.
It's the same resolution, I believe, that was read last month, which was defeated in that meeting, if I'm right.
Because I believe the difference this time is it would now be in the affirmative. And if it's 5-5, there's not a majority, so it would be defeated.
I see what you're saying. Okay. And then that last, supplemental.
Yes.
I think there was a last resolution that you were talking about conditions, and I was unclear as to what you meant by that.
Sorry, through you. It's reasons. So should all of these resolutions be defeated? And I may refer to Director Huff on this, but reasons need to be provided by council as to why it's been defeated.
Director Huff?
It just, through the chair, simply that if there is an appeal, we have to advise the OLT on the reasons that the application was denied. And staff would prefer to get the reasons directly from the committee of or council for the reasons why the application was denied, and that informs the OLT and the appellants on how to proceed.
Thank you for that. Councillor Mazan, follow up
Just a quick supplemental.
through anyone in particular?
Through you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did we not then, if we defeated it, if it was defeated last month, did we not at that point give reason and the conditions?
Director Huff?
Through the chair, unfortunately, we did miss receiving the reasons. So we don't have those, and we didn't get them at PC.
Sorry, Councillor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you again. This is part of the complexity that I'm trying, like, if we go through this and find ourselves that we've now approved the 4, and then we have to go in and explain why it's been denied. And that That's, I think I'm understanding that, that last resolution would be, oh, here are the reasons and rationale for why. Is that correct? And that needs to be stated because we missed that last month.
Director Bess-Sararas.
Yes, that is correct, but I just want to clarify that these resolutions are again in the positive. So it's as was written in the staff report, not what was at committee, like not what committee decided. So committee decided to defeat them. All of these resolutions are in the positive. They're exactly as was written in the staff report, what staff recommended. So if you don't want it to move forward, you need to turn these down. If you do want it to move
Okay.
forward, you need to vote for it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, last clarification, but then that last resolution, we still need to do regardless. If it gets defeated,
Only if they all get defeated.
we still need to add in. So anybody, okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosenworth and then Councillor Edwards.
Just to be clear, when these get reread, it is as if we were in the planning meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Edwards.
I would like to move a motion to take it back to planning so that the neighbors can actually hear us one way or the other. And that it's like we're doing it behind closed doors. I don't approve of that, and I think it should go back then, rather than if it's a 5-5 and it's approved when it was voted down before.
Councillor Director Bess-Sararas, please.
You're not gonna like this answer. The resolution to send it back to committee was already just voted on. So you would actually have to reconsider the decision that you just made as a committee to not send it back to committee. So that was the first resolution that was on the floor. The first resolution on the floor put forward by Councillor Bosenworth was to refer it back to committee, and it received a 5-5 vote, so that defeated. So that's already been put on the floor. So you'd actually have to reconsider that if you want to do that at this time. So that's already been on the floor, and council decided they did not want to do that.
Yeah.
You can reconsider. Again, I'd have to double check because we're in the same meeting, but I think that's a 2/3 vote because it's already been decided here by this table. So you can't keep bringing up the same matter if it's going to be defeated over and over again. So again, I know it's complex, but if that's the decision and you want to go back, it's just a little bit of extra wording, and it's to reconsider that decision that this table has already made about 15 minutes ago.
And if I may, just for my clarification, the 2/3 vote, if that's the right number, is to reconsider it, not a 2/3 vote to send it back. Okay, thank you. This is getting easier. Councillor Bosenworth.
So
No,
to-
I know what dinner's gonna look.
just to be absolutely clear, you read these resolutions and each one of them ends up 5-5. That means that the application has been defeated. Thank you.
Okay. Personally, I think what's most important is we understand what we're voting on. I think in some small way, that's what got us here. Is there was a sense that we didn't, no, not here, but that's why we're pulling and reconsidering, is there was some feeling that we didn't understand what we're not all understood what we were voting on. I'm happy to read this. I frankly think it needs to be read in its entirety, just simply for my conscience that we aren't just getting votes. I think at the end of each resolution and before the vote, someone could fairly ask, if I vote yes, what happens? So that everybody understands, what we're dealing with, whether a yes or no vote. There's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of words here, but it clears it up and solves it today. I'm not going to ever presume how the vote goes. People vote differently from time to time, but I certainly don't want anybody to feel like we've jammed something that they didn't understand and compromise the integrity of the decision. Councillor Kent.
My issue with this whole discussion and votes is really a matter of question of process. And I guess my concern is what this says to me is anytime we have a vote where we do not have a full complement of counselors, and we choose to revisit it in plain sober thought the next month, we're really creating a situation where, oh, look, we can redo this again because blah, blah, blah wasn't there and they won in that, on that particular timeline. And that just process matter concerns me, meaning, I don't like it. Doesn't look good, doesn't feel right. We voted on this, we agreed on it. If it was the same 7 or 8 people that voted last time voting on this, that would be fine. But I find it's like, okay, sorry, I missed the meeting, but now I get to vote again and change the process that happened last month. Anyway, just an aside. I know there's nothing you can do. I don't like the way it looks.
I understand that. Thank you for your feedback. It's just like every other motion that's approved or denied at committee that comes forward to council. Council is a kind of a body. It's not a number of people or a number, as long as we have quorum. And I believe there's no reason at all why anybody can't vote who's here on the particular day when the decision is to be made. All right, we're going to start on this little mission. There's 4 of these. A little shot of this first. Maple syrup. All right, moved by. I'm going to put some names in here. All right, moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved, there's only one of those, right? Be it resolved that consent applications B 25, 26, 25 ML, bracket 693170 Ontario LTD, be approved, subject to the following conditions. First one is a little I. That the certificate of consent under section 53 bracket 42 of the Planning Act, along with a quote transfer in preparation quote, be prepared by a solicitor and shall be given to the Secretary Treasurer within 2 years from the date the notice of the decision was given. Number 2, that one hard copy and a digital copy of a registered reference plan of the severed lot / right-of-ways / easements prepared by an Ontario land surveyor be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, which corresponds with the applications as submitted. A draft copy of the reference plan shall be provided to the Secretary Treasurer for review and approval prior to registration on title. Number 3, that cash in lieu of parkland be dedicated to the township in the amount of 5% of the assessed value of the newly created vacant lots or the entire lands, whichever is less. Number 4, that confirmation be received that the existing dock located on severed lot number 2 of consent application B 26 25 ML is located 30 feet or greater from the easterly side lot line projection into the high water mark at the closest point, or that it be removed or relocated in compliance with the township's zoning standards, or that zoning relief be approved to permit the dock to be located within the required 30-foot side yard setback. 5, that zoning relief be approved to facilitate the proposed lot creations and to implement the recommendations made within the scoped environmental impact study and addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively. Number 6, that the retained and severed lots be required to obtain site plan approval and that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title along with securities for matters including, but not limited to, implementation of the recommendations made within the scoped EIS and addendum prepared by SLR and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively, and implementation of section L6.6.2 of the Township's 2023 official plan as detailed in staff report Plan-2026-037. And number 7, that the owners enter into a satisfactory consent agreement with the township pursuant to section 51 bracket 26 of the Planning Act. Said agreement shall be registered against the title of the lands and shall contain provisions to the satisfaction of the township whereby the owner agrees to implement all of the recommendations made within the scoped EIS and addendum prepared by SLR and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively. So that's the first resolution in its entirety. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Mazan.
Thank you. And through you, my question is, if we are voting in the affirmative, so we want to pass this, we're supporting staff's recommendation, this resolution from last month. Is that correct?
If we vote yes.
If
Is
we
that what
vote
you're
yes.
asking?
Yes.
I'm going to defer to Director Best Serraris.
Yes, so this was what was in the staff report. So staff are recommending approval. So if you vote in favor of this, you're voting in favor of an approval. So-
Councillor Mazan.
Quick supplemental then, just because we missed this last month. If this is defeated now, do we have to be at this point prepared to say why?
Director Best
each of these.
Serraris, what do you think?
Yes, but not until we're done.
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Anyone else with a question? I read the resolution. We can have a comment. Councillor Bosenworth.
This application is something that lots of us don't like. But I will remind us that we in a way, we were caught between a change in the status that came from the district. It went from a protected lake from an environmental point of view. It was taken off the list. So that was one reason that allowed the applicant to make the application. The second reason is due to the fact that the OP, that section of the OP that designated this lake under the recreational carrying capacity would also not have.
Yes, Councillor Nishikawa.
We were just told that reasons don't be given until after the vote. Sorry, I'm seeing a nod from the clerk. I'm not understanding if we're what I'm hearing from the counselor is that we're rehashing all of this stuff right now. Otherwise, I've got a whole list of stuff. And I'm heard from the clerk that that's not to be heard until the end.
Well, that's not what I heard from the clerk, but perhaps I thought it was only if we defeated that we needed to get reasons. I assumed, as in most motions, when we have a motion that's read, we have questions and then we have comment. Am I wrong? This is not a procedural motion. Okay, never mind. I'm going to suggest you wrap it up fairly quickly. Thank you.
I was going to.
Thank you.
The second point is that under the challenged OP, it opened the door for the applicant to make the application. If yet the OP is what we want, but it is, some people in our community didn't like it, so they appealed it. Our staff made it very clear that based on our policies, this should be approved. It's not what we want, it's what we have in front of us. And I think we should approve this one. For that reason, we have a policy, we're following a policy. We follow our rules. That's what we're trying to do here. And that's what we should be voting on. I'll stop there.
No. I'm going to ask Councillor Nishikawa to comment, and then I may have one myself.
I think we have opened up the debate. I'll go back to all of my list of reasons why this committee, the planning committee, these are wetlands. Wetlands have protected environmental issues. The reports that were done were only done over 2 seasons, so they didn't give a full report. We didn't have a peer review. And as a matter of fact, we didn't ask for some of these things because most of us voted not to move forward and create more expenses for everyone. There were issues with habitat that were not brought forward until the last second, that they actually do have snakes in that area. Most of us will know that. the negative activity at shore. So if we all remember, we were expecting these people to recreate in an environmentally protected zone. We actually were taking the shoreline and putting it in EP. I think the concerns would be, would that actually be respected or remain as an EP? Probably someone will put something else there. But either way, there's a lot of issues here, and they were brought up at the planning meeting, and which is why people voted the way they did. It hasn't changed, and we shouldn't be threatened by a legal letter. We are about the environment. Muskoka Lakes is about the environment, and we need to understand not a developer's wishes. And this is a developer that is taking wetlands and trying to develop it for his purpose on a small lake as well.
Thank you for that. Reluctantly, does anyone else have any comments? Councillor Zavitz.
Well, you know, gang up here, but if I'm not mistaken, the last month, we voted as we voted on this file, and it was turned down by the planning committee, which was a Thursday, and on the Friday, did we not get the announcement that the OLT decision of the appeal had been turned down? So in fact, our 2022 OP was in place. So that was 24 hours later, because I know I got a couple of calls saying, how weird is that? Because we couldn't even talk about retail or, carrying capacity, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm totally subscribing to Councillor Nishikawa's brief summary. I mean, that is the record, and that stands. All those people sat here.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Councillor Kent.
Just a small comment. I agree with both Councillor Nishikawa and Councillor Zavitz, but I think that it was the puzzle piecing of the shoreline into little pockets that were accessible for a raft or a boathouse or whatever they were going to put there, and then an environmental protection zone, and then another little puzzle piecing of a spot that felt to me like we were trying to squeeze in and around the environmental legislations to make this client happy, make this homeowner happy. And I found that to be part of the most significant reason why I did not, on a small lake, did not think this should be processed. And that's what Councilor Nishikawa said as well, in a different way.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? No? Councillor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you. And I just don't know is it appropriate at this point to ask for staff to remind us from an environmental standpoint if they were satisfied? I'm trying to recollect, and I think it becomes important for us to be reminded.
Ms. Crowder.
And what
Welcome.
the possible, sorry, just as a quick supplemental, if there was another measure in place that could happen to ensure the concerns around the environment.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly, and good afternoon, members of council. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Mazan. The submitted scoped environmental impact assessment and addendum included a number of recommendations, which staff have recommended be implemented in a number of different ways, being site plan control, consent agreements, and the approval of certain zoning provisions. So one is the zoning of identified wetlands to environmental protection, which means that you would not be able to develop within those areas, save and except for boardwalk type structures, which are not permitted to have any kind of tree removal, are not permitted to have any kind of site alteration. They're meant to be very passive features. So you couldn't, as of right, clear any of the lands within that zone, which I believe was 100 feet setback from the high water mark. Further, the dock envelopes are recommended to be quite limited in size, which has been incorporated into the zoning bylaw, and that is in light of some identified type 1 fish habitat along the shoreline. Additionally, there was a potential rattlesnake hibernacula, which was found on site, and the EIS has recommended that that be zoned environmental protection and that a buffer also be incorporated into the zoning bylaw, which would require that all development be set back a certain degree from that. So there's a number of different recommendations at play here. Certain construction timing envelopes are recommended, so no tree removal between certain months of the year to protect bat roosting sites or potential bat roosting sites. So yeah, there's a number of different recommendations put forward, and ultimately staff were satisfied that the environmental features had been considered. It was committee's right to request that that study be peer reviewed. Staff did not recommend that a peer review be done because the submitted EIS appeared to meet the terms of reference for an environmental impact study that the district put forward and that this council subsequently endorsed. So when an EIS meets that criteria, we don't as of right require that the study be peer reviewed. And also, it was one of the more extensive EISs that I've seen, and recommendations put forward were pretty restrictive. So staff were comfortable with not requesting that peer review. And if I may, just a point of clarification, because I did hear some talk about the recreational carrying capacity. While the OP appeals were dismissed shortly after the decision at Planning Committee, the clergy principle comes into play, and we would not be able to consider the recreational carrying capacities regardless of when that decision was made, because the complete applications were submitted before that decision was rendered. So I just wanted to make that point of clarification.
Thank you for that. Anyone have a question for Ms. Crowder? Councillor Bosenworth?
Thank you, and through you. Ms. Crowder, my recollection is that we are creating 4 lots, and I believe only 3 of them are allowed to have docks. That's my first question. And second, I would like you to, in the meeting, I recall you expanded on what you thought of this EIS study and why you didn't think you need a peer review. So if you could perhaps run us past that again.
Yes, thank you, Chair, through you to Councillor Bosenworth. Yes, so the EIS does make specific dock recommendations, and there were certain lots that were deemed not to be suitable for proposed dock envelopes. I believe that is retained lot number 1. Sorry, I'm just scrolling to the consent sketch here. Yes, so lot number 1 has retained lot number 1 has very specific locations where docks could be permitted. And lot number 4 does not have a suitable dock envelope. And further to your second question, the EIS included evaluation of all of the factors that are required. So it considered species at risk, threatened and endangered species, fish habitat, bat roosting sites, the what do they call species, significant wildlife habitat, significant wildlife habitats. That would include the rattlesnake sightings, and all of the components of the district's terms of reference for an environmental impact study. It was completed by a qualified ecologist, and it was very extensive, and quite frankly, the EIS implemented very restrictive recommendations that made staff feel very comfortable in supporting the applications. In that development would be set back quite a bit further from the lake than what's permitted as of right. And we also consider the fact that of what development could occur on this site as of right today, which, you know, all of these features and functions that have been highlighted, without this zoning application in front of you, none of them would be protected under zoning.
Thank you for that. Councillor Zabitz.
Thank you, through you. Totally unrelated to that point. Is it fair to ask what the vote was? Because I don't really have any way of knowing not who, but how many votes were for and against in the planning meeting a month ago. I'd like to know if it was 9-1, 8-2, 7-3, whatever. Is that possible?
Director Bessarras.
Thank you. It was not a recorded vote, so that wouldn't be in the minutes or anywhere. So if it's not a recorded vote, I can't confirm that for you.
Anyone have any more for Ms. Crowder while she's standing there? No, seeing none. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I've read the resolution. I am not rereading it. I'm asking for questions or comments. I'm seeing no hands up. So I will call the vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And all opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it was defeated.
No.
We gotta do this again. Okay. Okay. This one's thankfully a little bit shorter. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that consent applications B 303125 ML Battaglini be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the certificate of consent under section 53(42) of the Planning Act, along with a quote transfer in preparation, be prepared by a solicitor and shall be given to the Secretary Treasurer within 2 years from the date the notice of the decision was given. That one hard copy and a digital copy of a registered reference plan of the severed lot right-of-ways easements prepared by an Ontario land surveyor be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, which corresponds with the applications as submitted. A draft copy of the reference plan shall be provided to the Secretary Treasurer for review and approval prior to registration on title. That cash in lieu of parkland be dedicated to the township in the amount of 5% of the assessed value of newly created vacant lots or the entire lands, whichever is less. That zoning relief be approved to facilitate the proposed lot creations and to implement the recommendations made within the scoped environmental impact study and addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively. That the retained and severed lots be required to obtain site plan approval and that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title along with securities for matters including but not limited to implementation of the recommendations made within the scoped EIS and addendum prepared by SLR and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively, and implementation of section L6.6.2 of the Township's 2023 official plan as detailed in Staff Report Plan 2026-037, and that the owners enter into a satisfactory consent agreement with the Township pursuant to section 51(26) of the Planning Act. Said agreement shall be registered against the title of the lands and shall contain provisions to the satisfaction of the township whereby the owner agrees to implement all of the recommendations made within the scoped EIS and addendum prepared by SLR and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively. So that's it in its entirety. I'm hoping there's a question. Anyone need a question? All right. No questions, no comments, and I will call the question. All in favor? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you very much. That is defeated. Okay. They're getting shorter, thankfully. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved. The consent applications B 2728 2925 ML 693170 Ontario Ltd and B 323325 ML Battaglini be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1. That the certificate of consent under section 53(42) of the Planning Act, along with a transfer in preparation, be prepared by a solicitor and shall be given to the Secretary Treasurer within 2 years from the date the notice of the decision was given. That one hard copy and a digital copy of a registered reference plan of the severed lot / right-of-ways / easements prepared by an Ontario land surveyor be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, which corresponds with the applications as submitted. A draft copy of the reference plan shall be provided to the Secretary Treasurer for review and approval prior to registration on title. Number 3, that the location and extent of the proposed rights of way be revised to reflect the configuration recommended within the scoped environmental impact study and addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025 respectively, and that the revised consent sketch form part of the notice of decision, and that a rezoning be approved to rezone the identified watercourse feature and recommended buffer on retained lot number 1 of consent applications B25, 26, 25 ML to environmental protection EP1 and to permit a driveway to traverse through an EP1 zone as shown in the extent and location on a schedule to the draft bylaw. Okay, any questions or comments on this one? I'll call the question. All in favor? And all opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. That is defeated. Okay, last one. Last one. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved, the zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA-28/25, bracket 693170 Ontario LTD and Battaglini be approved, subject to the following revisions to the draft bylaw. Number 1, prohibit the development of boathouses on or abutting the subject lands as recommended within the EIS addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated July 29, 2025. Number 2, permit the development of docks only within aquatic habitat transects 1, 2, 6 through 12, 14 to 17, 28 to 33, and 35 per the EIS addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated July 29, 2025, and include a schedule to the draft bylaw to reflect these locations. Rezone the identified Massasauga rattlesnake sighting area and hibernacula areas to environmental protection EP1, inclusive of the recommended 10-meter, 32.8-foot buffers, and amend the corresponding schedule to the draft bylaw accordingly. Number 4, restrict maximum footprint of the dock on the lake bed, i.e. cribs or steel piles, for a dock to be 161 square feet on each proposed lot as recommended within the EIS addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated July 29, 2025. Number 5, require minimum dock lengths within each aquatic transect to ensure a minimum mooring depth of 2.6 to 3.3 feet, as per the EIS addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated July 29, 2025, and as detailed in Staff Report Plan-2025-111. Number 6, rezone the areas within 98.4 feet from the identified wetlands, bracket per the EIS addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated July 29, 2025, to environmental protection, bracket EP1, and amend the corresponding schedule to the draft bylaw accordingly. Number 7, rezone the identified watercourse traversing retained lot number 1 of consent applications B25, 26, 25 ML to environmental protection EP1, inclusive of a 49.2-foot buffer, and amend the corresponding schedule to the draft bylaw accordingly. Number 8, permit a driveway within the EP1 zone on retained lot number 1 of consent applications B25, 26, 25 ML, and that a schedule be added to the draft bylaw to reflect the location and extent of such feature. And number 9, repeal the sections of bylaw 2003-188 that relate to the subject lands, and that the subject lands and development be made subject to site plan control for the implementation of the recommendations and mitigation measures outlined in the scoped EIS and addendum prepared by SLR Consulting and dated April 17, 2025 and July 29, 2025, respectively, including securities as necessary, among other matters. That one's all in. Anybody with a question or comment on that? I'll call the question. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That one is defeated as well. So we're going to go through whatever this last piece is to gather the rationale behind the decision, and then we're taking a break.
We can tweak it if needed. Could we just wanna-
Read it.
Yeah, I did it based on council.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay, so this resolution is the one that basically gives the rationale behind the decision to defeat. And as Director Bessarras just mentioned, she's just basically picked up most of what Councillor Nishikawa raised. This one is moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Whereas council defeated consent applications B 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 25 ML, bracket 693170 Ontario LTD, and B 30, 31, 32, 33, 25 ML, Battaglini, and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA-28/25, bracket 693170 Ontario LTD and Battaglini. Now therefore be it resolved, the council confirm their decision was made for the following reasons. And 1, due to environmental concerns, including potential negative impacts on the wetland. And that's what's in. Comment, Councillor Nishikawa.
I could add that what I took from the meeting was that there was information from an M&R and that some of the work didn't match what their requirements were. And that was mostly about the habitat, as well as I would say the negative activity that may take place at shore. Again, environmental protected area, but now we're trying to create something that's not.
That's fine. That's good. All right, do you have yeah, that's fine. This doesn't become a pleading, right? This is just a guide. Okay.
I have a feeling from this letter that it might be.
I'm going to mark this through so we don't give it back to you. Okay, thank you very much. So what I have previously read, I'm going to leave, but we've added a number 2, due to information from the Ministry of Natural Resources. Okay, any other comments or questions? I will call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for your patience, your input, especially thanks to Ms. Crowder, to Director Huff, Director Bessarras, and to CEO Pink. This kind of came out of nowhere, I think, and caught everybody off guard. Let's take 10 minutes and be back here at 10 minutes to 4. Thank you. about to get going now. We are 2 hours in and we've got the consent agenda wrangled to the ground. And so we're going to move from there. We have a rather extensive closed session agenda too. So we got a while ahead of us. Okay. Number 10A is a report from Ms. Necht. Welcome. On community flag raising and community living South Muskoka. Welcome.
Thank you.
And is this your first presentation? I've seen you in here before, never up there. Welcome. Let's see if you can go faster than that last one.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kelly and members of council. Before you is a report regarding community living South Muskoka's request to raise a flag at the township office within the month of May. If approved by council, the flag will be raised for a period of 1 week as per the policy. Staff reviewed the request alongside the requirements of the policy and are of the opinion that it complies. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Well done. Anyone with questions? No, I don't see any. I'm going to read a resolution. And it's moved by, don't go away because there may be questions after it's read. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the community flag raising request / community living South Muskoka, as outlined in staff report LS-2026-013, be approved. Any questions or comments? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I thought when we put the new flagpole up there, that we were delegating that to staff, that they were allowed to fly them, that they didn't have to bring it forward at one time. That was quite a few years ago when the flag went, probably 12 years ago, David?
I appreciate your question, and I'm going to ask someone. Is it Ms. Necht who's going to speak to that? No. Okay, Director Best, Sarah, you.
That's okay. I'm letting her off the hook. Thank you for the question. It's the first time that an organization comes forward, it needs council's approval. And then thereafter, I think it's every 5 years that they have to come back for approval, but just the initial approval comes to council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions, comments? I'll call it all in favor. That carries. Thank you very much. Nice job. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, a report from the manager of Parks, Rec and Facilities, who about half an hour ago looked like he was trying to figure out how to get out of here.
No, I did forget my laptop down at my office.
Welcome, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, worship.
Or shut up. Did he say we're shut up?
It was a long 2 hours.
What a little slip of the tongue that was.
Yeah, I'm glad I can always bring a few laughs. Before you today is the draft lease agreement for the Windermere Village Hall, as staff were directed to bring forward straight to council after the delegation from Muskoka Arts and Crafts last month. All parties are satisfied and staff are just seeking authority for the mayor and clerk to sign.
Perfect. Questions? Thank you, sir, very much. I'm going to read the resolution, then we can have questions or comments if we need it. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the lease agreement with Muskoka Arts and Crafts as attached as Appendix 1 to report OPS-2026-009. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Bylaws. We're going to run through these suckers as quick as we can get them off the hopper. Oh, there's a presentation for the first one. Welcome, Ms. Crowder.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. As council may recall, zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 4724 was given first and second reading by council on February 12th, 2025. Third reading was being withheld for a number of items, including that a consent agreement be entered into which stipulates that the owner agrees not to separately convey or transfer the waterfront and backlot parcels, and that the owner agrees to complete construction of a dwelling on the backlot parcel within 4 years of the date of approval of the bylaw. While working to draft the consent agreement required per the resolution passed by committee, the township solicitor flagged that a consent agreement is not the appropriate tool to accomplish the intent in this case. Instead, it is recommended that a Section 118 Land Titles Act restriction be placed on title wherein the owner agrees that neither parcel be transferred separately by the owner without the consent of a designated official of the township. Further, the township solicitor stated that the recommendation that a provision be included into a consent agreement that the owner agrees to complete construction of a dwelling on the backlot parcel within 4 years of the date of approval of the bylaw is not appropriate, as there would be no way to enforce this. Staff therefore recommend that it be removed. The original resolution further states that third reading be withheld until such time as the sleeping cabin on the backlot parcel is removed to the satisfaction of the township or brought into zoning compliance, and a satisfactory license agreement is entered into with the township for a forest main pump line located beneath the road allowance associated with Judhaven Road. These remain as requirements prior to third reading being granted. Staff have prepared a resolution today to implement the advice of the township solicitor, which was communicated to the property owner prior to today's meeting. I have no further comments at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions from committee or council. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Appreciate it. Anyone with questions for Ms. Crowder before I read this? I don't see any, so I will read it. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Kent. Whereas first and second reading of bylaw 2025-021 were given on January the 17th, 2025. And whereas third reading of bylaw 2025-021 is being withheld until such time as, among other matters, that the consent agreement registered on title for the waterfront and backlot parcels be amended to the satisfaction of the township to reflect the following. First, that the owner agrees not to separately convey or transfer the waterfront and backlot parcels, and two, that the owner agrees to complete construction of a dwelling on the backlot parcel within 4 years of the date of approval of the bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforementioned requirement for a consent agreement be substituted with a requirement to register such additional instruments under the authority of Section 118 Land Titles Act to specify that the waterfront and backlot parcels cannot be separately conveyed/transferred at the direction of the township's solicitor. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That one carries. Thank you very much. No report on that. Okay, two resolutions on this one, no report. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-034 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket 106-1028 Ontario LTD roll number 4-20-014-03 be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Second one, moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-034 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket 106-1028 Ontario LTD roll number 4-20-014-03 be read a third time and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay. Next one. No presentation on this one either. Okay. Moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-035 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket Fasken roll number 6-24-015 be read a first and second time. Questions, comments, all in favor? It carries. Thank you. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-035 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket Fasken roll number 6-24-015 be read a third time and finally passed. Questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. No, nothing. Okay, this one's moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Leonard Lake lying in front of concession 9 part lot 22 bracket Monk, designated as part 1 on plan 35R-27998 Ander/Durban, roll number 9-6-038, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-022 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as part 1 on 35R-27998 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. All right, next one up. This is moved by Councillor Bosom. He's gone. Moved by Councillor Zavitz. Seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Lake Rosso, lying in front of concession 2, lot 35, bracket Watt, designated as part 1 on plan 35R-28003-16102-808 Canada Inc., roll 2-8-009, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-029 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as part 1 on 35R-28003 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Carry. Okay, next up, moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that part of Sagamo Boulevard, registered plan 32 of the geographic township of Medora, now in the township of Muskoka Lakes in the district municipality of Muskoka, designated as part 2 on plan 35R-27974, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-031 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of road allowance designated as part 2 on plan 35R-27974 be given 3 readings and passed. Questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right, next up, moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Kent, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-032, being a bylaw for the purpose of acquiring part of lot 35, concession 12, geographic township of Medora, now in the township of Muskoka Lakes, in the district municipality of Muskoka, designated as part 1 on plan 35R-27974, in exchange for the transfer from the corporation of the township of Muskoka Lakes of part 2 on plan 35R-27974 to the registered owner of the abutting lands described in PIN parcel register 48142-0585 bracket LT, and to establish said part 1 on plan 35R-27974 as part of the municipal highway system. Be ready first, second, and third time and finally passed. Questions? All in favor? That carried. Thank you. This one moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Lake Rosso lying in front of concession 5, part lot 30, bracket Watt, designated as part 2 on plan 35R-27987 hyphen Horner/Lang, roll 2-9-040 be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-036 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as part 2 on 35R-27987 be given 3 readings and finally passed. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. One of these is first. All right, last minute addition. The next one is a file involving a property owner named Mursky. And I have a pecuniary interest, a relationship with the Mursky family, and with the Murskys, I'm going to have to, because they are lessees of some property that I own. So I'm going to step aside and let Chair Mazan, or Councillor Mazan, take the chair. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Lake Rosso, lying in front of Concession 5, Part Lot 30 Watt, designated as Part 2 on Plan 35R-27988, Mursky, Roll 2943-01, be declared as surplus, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to Sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-037 be to stop, up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as Part 2 on 35R-27988 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you, and that carries.
Thank you for that. Next up, resolution moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Leonard Lake, lying in front of Concession 10, Part Lot 19, bracket Monk, designated as Part 1 on Plan 35R-27994 Defair, Roll 9-8-12-050 be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to Sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-040 to stop, up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as Part 1 on 35R-27994 be given 3 readings and finally passed. All in favor? That carried. Thank you. All right, next one, moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Cardwell Lake, lying in front of Concession 10, Lot 3, bracket Cardwell, designated as Part 2 on Plan 35R-28009 Vercoil, Roll 1-5-41-010 be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to Sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2026-041 to stop, up, close, and convey that portion of the original shore road allowance designated as Part 2 on 35R-28009 be given 3 readings and finally passed. All in favor? I carry. Thank you. Next up, moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be resolved that bylaw 2026-038 to designate site plan control, part of Lot 26, Concession 1, Watt, Mandley, roll number 2-5-004-01, be ready first, second, and third time and finally passed. All in favor? That carried. Thank you. Next up, moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2006-039 to designate site plan control part of Lot 2, Concession 12, Parts 2 to 4, Plan 35R-16619, bracket Medora, 439592 Ontario, Inc., roll number 4-7-050-01, be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Next one. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-042 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer and a property standards officer for the Corporation of the Township of Muskoka Lakes be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed. Any questions, comments? Councillor Zavitz, and then Councillor Bozeman.
Well, thank you. Through you. I guess just maybe just if we could hear briefly, just are these 2 people that we've supported and it's just a matter of putting it through, or Yeah, I'm just curious based on the whole short-term rental situation, et cetera. So I just wanted clarification if I could. Thank you.
Perfect. Let me figure out who was. Oh, Director Huff, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So these appointments are for seasonal bylaw staff that are unrelated to the short-term licensing per se. It's for our typical operations in the summer.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? All right, then I have read it, right? Then I will call the question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Next one, moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-043, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer and a property standards officer for the Corporation of the Township of Muskoka Lakes, be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed. All right, you want to ask the same question? No. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay. Oh, man. All right. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved, the council in closed session convene at 4:11 p.m. for an exemption headed litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals, section 239 sub 2 sub E of the Municipal Act 2001. Another exemption is advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, section 239 sub 2 sub F of the Municipal Act 2001. And there are 5 referenced confidential reports. Confidential report CCS-2026 number 12, number 13, number 14, number 15, and number 16. And last exemption, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or the local board, section 239 sub 2 sub C of the Municipal Act 2001. And finally, also a confidential verbal update on a land acquisition matter. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor? So we are in closed. Thank you very much. We will